Hi everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to talk to you about something we all experience every day, emotion, and how it can influence our attention. Whether it's fear making us hyper aware of danger or happiness pulling our focus toward the people we love, our emotions shape how we see and respond to the world around us. Over the next 15 minutes I'll break down what psychologists mean by emotion and explain what attention actually is from a cognitive perspective. I'll then walk you through some fascinating studies, both classic and contemporary, that show just how powerfully our emotions can guide, change, and even override our attention. But before we dive in, I'm holding this snake, which you probably already noticed. But with all your focus on the snake, did you notice the mushrooms? Probably not. Keep watching to find out why. To understand how emotions affect our attention, we first need to know what emotions actually are. Think about the movie Inside Out, a film where emotions like joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust are personified to help a young girl to navigate her world. While the movie is fun, these ideas are actually based on the research of psychologist Paul Ekman. His theory suggests that some emotions are universal. They're hardwired into us and expressed similarly across all cultures. He identified 6 basic emotions that we all experience: happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, anger, and disgust. These are all core emotions, and each one has its own unique expression, physiological reaction, and adaptive purpose. Take Inside Out, for example. Joy is focused on keeping things positive, while sadness helps us to process loss and fear prepares us for danger. These emotions are not just random reactions, but they're built into our biology to help us survive and thrive. While fear makes us alert to threats, anger can motivate us to change something that feels unfair, and happiness brings us together with others to build relationships. These 6 basic emotions are universally recognised, which means no matter where you're from, you'll likely interpret a smiling face the same way. Emotions are not just something we learn from our environment, they're deeply rooted in our biology. Now that we have a sense of what emotions are, let's talk about attention. In cognitive psychology, attention is the mental process of focusing on certain pieces of information while ignoring others. Imagine you're at a crowded party and you're trying to have a conversation with your friend. You're focusing your attention on their voice, tuning out the music and background chatter. That's attention at work. Your mind is choosing what to focus on and what to filter out. But attention isn't just about focus, it's also about how we allocate our mental resources. When we pay attention to something, our brain is actively working to process that information more deeply, and we often do it unconsciously. For example, when you're driving, you might not consciously think about steering, but your attention is still guiding you to make the right adjustments based on what is happening around you, like slowing down when you're approaching a stop sign. Attention is also a limited resource. This means we can't pay attention to everything at once, so our brain has to decide where to direct our focus. This is why, when something highly emotional happens, like suddenly seeing a snake, our attention often shifts instantly to that threat. Our brain prioritises the most important information to keep us safe. So, in simple terms, attention is our mental spotlight. It's what we focus on, shaped by both external things like our environment and internal things like what's going on in our mind at that moment. One of the most influential studies on how emotion affects attention was conducted by Oman in 1993. His research tested the idea that we might be hardwired to automatically detect certain threats in our environment, especially those related to survival, like snakes or spiders. To test this, Oman had participants search for images in a grid pattern display. Some images were fear relevant, snakes and spiders. Others were fear irrelevant, flowers and mushrooms. The task was to find the fear relevant images in the array of other pictures. So what did they find? Well, the participants were much faster at spotting the snakes or spiders compared to the flowers or mushrooms. And this suggests that our brains have a kind of shortcut for detecting threats, which might have evolved to help us react quickly in dangerous situations. Omen also tested what happened when the number of flowers and mushrooms increased. Even when there were more images, the results remained the same. Participants still found the snakes and spiders faster than the flowers and mushrooms. Interestingly, the study also showed that phobic participants, those with a much stronger fear of snakes or spiders, were even faster than the non-phobic participants at detecting those particular images. This suggests that for people with specific phobias, their attention is even more tuned to these fear-relevant stimuli, highlighting how emotions like fear can enhance attentional focus. So in summary, this study shows that our attention isn't just a random process. It's influenced by evolutionary factors that make us more sensitive to certain emotional cues, like the threat of a snake, which helps us to react faster and stay safe. While Omen's study offers compelling evidence that emotional stimuli, like snakes and spiders, can capture our attention faster due to their evolutionary significance, there are a few critiques and limitations to this model. Firstly, Omen's research mainly focuses on fear-relevant stimuli, like snakes and spiders, and assumes these are universal threats that trigger automatic attention. But in today's world, threats aren't just about physical danger. There are all sorts of modern threats, like social rejection, financial problems, that also provoke strong emotional reactions. So one criticism is that Omen's model might not fully account for all the different types of emotional stimuli we deal with in everyday life. Another psychologist, Easterbrook, suggests when we experience high levels of anxiety, our attention becomes narrower. Why? Because anxiety drives us to concentrate more intensely on the most immediate threat, filtering out other less important information. This is thought to be an adaptive response, helping us to focus on the danger and react more quickly. To test this idea, researchers created a situation where participants were anxious because they believed they were about to receive an electric shock. They were asked to respond to visual stimuli, but some of the stimuli were presented in their peripheral vision. What happened? The anxious participants reacted more slowly to the peripheral stimuli than the control group, who were not facing the threat of the shock. This finding supports the Easterbrook hypothesis. When anxiety is high, our attention narrows. We become less aware of things happening outside our immediate focus, in this case the peripheral stimuli. In the context of real threat, narrowing attention can help us concentrate on the danger, but it comes at a cost. We might miss out on other important details like escape routes or social cues simply because we're too focused on the one thing. Omen's theory helps explain why fear-related stimuli capture our attention so quickly, while Easterbrook's hypothesis explains why when we're anxious, we may miss out on important information happening around us because we're so narrowly focused on the threat. Both theories highlight how emotions, whether fear-related or anxiety-driven, play a crucial role in shaping what we attend to in our environment. Moving beyond basic threat detection, more recent studies show that emotions also serve as signals that help us prioritise certain types of information over others, particularly in social contexts. For example, emotions like anger or sadness can guide us to focus on important social cues like potential conflict or the emotional needs of others. Take anger for instance. When we see someone expressing anger, our attention is naturally drawn to possible conflict. This is adaptive because it helps us assess whether we need to protect ourselves in a social situation. On the other hand, when we see sadness, perhaps in a friend's face, our attention is drawn towards their suffering, and this makes us more likely to recognise that they need support or care. This idea that emotions help us prioritise certain social information is supported by research that looks at how different emotions affect attention in different ways. For example, negative emotions like anger, fear, or disgust tend to narrow our attentional focus. When we feel these emotions, we become more vigilant, we pay closer attention to potential threats or social negative cues like facial expressions or body language that might signal danger or distress. But it's not all about narrowing attention to threats. Positive emotions, such as happiness or amusement, have the opposite effect. They tend to broaden our attentional scope, meaning we're more open to a wider range of information. When we're feeling happy or amused, we are more likely to engage with our environment and the people around us in an open and exploratory way. This broadening effect enhances creativity, social bonding, and overall positive engagement with the world. In essence, emotions help direct our attention in ways that are socially adaptive. Negative emotions heighten our vigilance, helping us to focus on potential threats or conflicts, while positive emotions expand our awareness, promoting connection and creativity. So, to wrap things up, we've seen just how much our emotions influence what we pay attention to, often in ways we don't even realise. Whether it's the evolutionary advantage of focusing on fear-related stimuli or the narrowing of attention under anxiety, emotions play a crucial role in guiding our mental spotlight. We also discovered that emotions aren't just about avoiding danger, they help us navigate the social world. From spotting a snake in a field of mushrooms to navigating the complex emotions of social interactions, emotions are constantly shaping what we see and how we respond. Whether we are aware of it or not, our emotional states are guiding our attention every day. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of emotion and attention. I hope you now have a deeper appreciation for how emotions might be shaping your perceptions and decisions. Finally, don't forget to notice what might be going unnoticed in your world. Even override our attention. But first, oh no, into the thing. Yeah, ready?
Angle the camera
She's
down.
literally constricting my leg. Relax yourself, child. You don't like to be restrained, do you?